because I'd get it edited, and then I'd forget to upload it.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
And then I'd close the work file without saving it because it's like, oh, it's 2 or 3 hours later. And I never got around to saving it because I got focused on everything else that the podcast needed to get update. Whereas with putting the file up uncut, that's actually step 1 of my process now. So we're live, by the way, folks. Awesome. Hey, how's it going? Whoever's in there so far.
What's up, everybody?
We're doing Atlantis, the Lost Empire tonight.
Yes, we are.
Yes, Josh, you are indeed first.
Yep. Yay.
In fact, we were just talking about you.
Yeah, we are.
Well, only because you're still our only patron so far. And we very much thank you for that.
Yes.
I'm sure you noticed, but now I'm just doing uncut episodes instead of bloopers. So I hope that's all right.
All right, everybody. So we will get started in a couple of minutes. And yeah, it's been an interesting day. Let's say that. The world's kind of nutty right now, but either way,
I'm gonna confuse myself if I do it that way.
You're confusing me. He's switching things on his monitor.
Well, normally I have Audacity over here and I got the stream over here.
Yes.
But for some reason I was setting it up stream over here and Audacity over there. And it's like, that's going to confuse me halfway through the episode. I know it is. So I'm going to fix it now.
All right.
I should hit record.
Yes, you should.
There we go.
Now we're recording.
So yes, Josh, you were first.
Excellent.
Get that on audio. He says, this movie and Treasure Planet are the most underrated Disney movies.
I've never watched Treasure Planet.
I've seen Muppet Treasure Island. Is that close?
I've seen that. That's actually very funny.
We'll get to that one eventually.
Yes, that we will.
That actually reminds me.
Huh.
I think I'm gonna change one of my decisions here.
Okay.
On the upcoming movie list.
I need to do that myself.
Well, you've only got like 2 to pick up before we start October.
Oh, okay.
You still got this one on that we record on the 7th and this one that we record on the 28th.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But you got plenty of time because we're like right here. It's like, well, you got 2 movies.
Yeah. So I need to jump on that real fast.
Yeah. Just text them to me. I'll throw them in there.
Got it.
And then we will need to be talking about these soon.
Exactly. All the scheduling people.
And these as well.
Yes. Can't believe the year's almost over. That's insane.
Feels like we just started it.
It does.
Changed my mind again.
Some people just can't pick up their minds. Ooh, good idea.
Figure if I'm going in order, technically this one's next.
Okay.
And I do own a copy now in 4K.
Nice.
It's got the Blu-ray version too if you need to watch it.
Well, I'll definitely take you up on that offer. All right.
I need to figure out where that one goes in the list.
Oh, I love that movie.
I knew you liked Muppets before I forced you to watch it because I knew you liked that movie.
Well, I'd only watched, that movie.
And then Muppet Babies.
Oh my gosh, nah.
Make our dreams come true.
That just drove me nuts because I
looks kind of weird and you wish that you weren't there. Just close your eyes and make believe that you can be anywhere.
He's doing this to torture me. No, great. As a kid, I hated Muppet Babies for
which is fair.
Really bad reasons. Because when I was a kid, I really didn't like little kids. But as an adult, that's changed.
I mean, I don't like Rugrats, but
yeah.
And honestly, I think of all the quote unquote kids shows that were of the older, the shows about the kid versions of people already knew.
Uh-huh.
This, in my opinion, the original Muppet Babies and Pup Named Scooby-Doo are the only two that got it right.
Okay.
In my opinion. And it helps that Muppet Babies technically started it.
I gotcha.
Started that trend.
Ready to get this thing started?
Yeah. I think I know what pun I'm going to use for you. You got one for me?
Yes. It's already been preset.
Okay.
Let me share.
And, after we get off the stream, but before you run off,
okay,
I'm going to help you get Discord set up on that thing so you can get in there. Because I think you're missing updates.
Probably.
On a certain project that we're both involved in.
Yes.
Us and a couple other people.
Yes.
More on that in the future.
Yes, I agree. There's a lot of things I need to set up. Let's say that.
I know, but at least that one I can give you a hand with.
Yes. All right. Shall we dive into another episode?
Josh, the Looney Tune Babies were the worst example of this.
The Looney Tune Babies?
Yes, there was a baby Looney Tune show on Cartoon Network in like the 2000s.
Oh.
That was the worst way you could have done that.
The best way they ever did it was Tiny Toons.
That's entirely different.
Agreed.
Because they're not babies.
No. They're little kids.
Yes. And it's not even the characters. Those characters, in Tiny Toons, the Looney Tunes were the teachers of the next generation.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. And I remember seeing something about that. It's like, oh my gosh, it looks terrible.
Actually, I liked the early episodes of Tiny Toons. Somewhere around the end, when you could tell they were starting to run out of ideas.
Yeah.
That's when I started getting it. Really, after How I Spent My Summer Vacation, after that movie, it's when it starts going downhill. Before Animaniacs comes out, and then you have that whole new thing going.
Okay.
But even then, Buster and Babs Bunny kept showing up in Animaniacs.
That is true. Well, let me clarify something, because Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, I love to death.
Mm-hmm.
While I was referring to the baby Looney Tunes. What you were referring
the
to?
Ones from the 2000s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I was saying, like, that just looked weird. That's what I was referring to.
That does look weird.
That was because I just wanted to clarify what I was saying. Because sometimes I don't clarify what I'm trying to say.
Admittedly, sometimes it's hard to follow which track you've switched to.
Very true.
With your train of thought.
Yes, that is so true. So I am working on getting that train on the right track.
I hear that train coming. Anyway.
Yeah. Just don't plow over the DeLorean. That's all I'm asking.
Very fair. Very, very fair. All right. We ready to start this?
Yes.
Okay. Starting in Cartoons, the animated frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission: to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again. Welcome to another episode of the Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who needs to make sure he doesn't sit on the dirt. Welcome, Jacob. I don't expect to do this like so quickly. You know that? I haven't actually.
It was such a good. I mean, like it was
I
so
haven't actually got you like that in a while.
So simple, such a simple joke, but it just broke me for some reason. I don't know why, but it was just so funny to me. All right, let me get my bearings together. Oh.
Starting off great tonight.
Yes, we are. Oh my gosh, I'm laughing over dirt. I think it's just how you said it. Man, he just wants to sit on dirt.
I said a man who needs to make sure he doesn't
sit on dirt. That's right.
Sit on the dirt. Not in the dirt, on the dirt.
On the dirt. Oh my gosh. For some reason, that just made me flashback to my childhood, which is all kinds of interesting and fun. Either way. All right, let's get composure here. Let's see if I not lap my head off over not sitting in dirt. All right. Why, thank you.
Was the fakest laugh you could have done.
Yes, I know I can because they heard me just giggle my head off a couple minutes ago. If you're catching the bloopers, anyways, why, thank you. Let me use our co-host. I am so cracking up today. It's not even funny. A man who. I just had my notes and I didn't look at them beforehand. This is terrible, Jacob. Come on. All right.
It's like our first week all over
yes,
again.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Except we're not doing Frozen and I'm not continually saying Anna instead of
Anna. We need to revisit that. That'd be awesome. Either way. All right. Take two.
Eventually we need to do the second one.
Yes, we do need to do the second one. All right. All right. Take two. Good one. Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who just enjoys a glass of nitro every once in a while. Welcome, Drew.
I can't cough do that. Hang on. Excuse me. Spicy. How are you doing today, Jake?
Apparently laughing my head off for the silliest things. But doing pretty well. How are you?
Fair to middling, I'd say.
I understand what that phrase means. Sometimes I've never, like, for the longest, I never understood what it meant.
It's actually a cotton term.
Yeah.
Middling is kind of a grade of cotton. Fair is a grade of cotton.
Yes.
I'm somewhere between fair and middling.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly where that sits on the scale of cotton terminology, but
right.
I have no idea how far away I am from completely horrible and should not be processed into cotton or into t-shirts or the greatest cotton that ever existed. I have no idea where it sits on that scale.
Yes. My initial thought of halfway to Midland.
Well, you're thinking halfway to Midland.
Yeah, Midland, like Midland, Texas.
As in over by Odessa, which if I'm that far away, this is a long commute. I'm halfway there.
Yes. So either way, of me not understanding
local East Texas terminology.
Yes.
Or really Southern terminology.
Yeah, it's very Southern terminology. Either way. How are you?
Oh, I already answered that
question. Yes, you did.
But I'm doing all right. It's been a relatively good week. So yeah. What have you been watching?
What have I been watching? Let's pull that up because I did write it down. I watched over the week, the last week, I watched Iron Man 2 because it's a movie I haven't watched in a long time, and I remember having fond memories of the film. And it was like, oh, okay, this is a good film. Still good, still enjoyable. And then I watched one of my all-time favorites because I realized I have 2 copies of this film called Top Gun. Ever since Top Gun Maverick is coming, hopefully and prayerfully, it's coming out this year.
There's a good chance.
I'll get into that a little bit later in the news because something else got pulled.
We'll get to it.
We'll get there when we get there. But either way, I recently watched Top Gun again. I think it's like the 100th and some time I watched the film, but I just have an enjoyment for the film. If you want to hear mine and Drew's commentary on it, not commentary, but our review on
review
it.
Of it.
Review of it.
Brother.
Yeah, exactly. Go check out the Movie of the Week podcast and go subscribe there and listen to our review of that film. Either way, that's all I've been watching and listening to the podcast and all kinds of stuff. But other than that, that's it.
Okay.
What have you been watching?
Well, I gave a try to something called the Looney Tunes Show.
Yeah.
Which I think I talked about this maybe a little bit last week.
Yes.
But I've watched some more of that. We watched
that we did
Mystery Men last Sunday when we were visiting our friend Chase, and then I finally beat Yakuza 0.
Yeah,
and that was an interesting way that story ended. If you're interested in it, bear in mind it's definitely a game for. If you're a kid, don't play it. But I enjoyed the game. It had a good story. I kind of saw the ending coming by the end of chapter 15, and there's only 17 chapters. But it was still good.
Okay.
There was a lot of things that there was one character I assumed was going to be the final boss.
Yeah.
And because technically, apparently, that character has to show up in a later game, we couldn't kill him.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't even get to fight him because of reasons. So that was a little disappointing.
Okay.
But I noted over the weekend that Microsoft Flight Simulator had been released on the Xbox. And for those of you who don't know why that's an interesting deal, they actually, in that game, you can actually fly over the entire Earth.
Really?
Yes, it uses Bing Maps because it's Microsoft.
Yeah.
So it uses Bing Maps as kind of its main graphics layer, and then an AI kind of goes over and places buildings, what thinks are the correct type of buildings in where they go on.
Yeah.
So I took off from Pounds Field.
Okay.
I got that close. I actually found the airstrip that is over there off 69.
Yeah.
There in Mount Selman.
Yeah.
I found that's on there. Strangely enough, I didn't expect to find it.
Really?
It's mostly just you could tell where the lawn was mowed.
Yeah.
When 3 or 4 years ago, when the Bing satellite last went over the area, but
they're working on that area now.
Yeah, they're cleaning that up.
Yeah.
But I found that. But I flew over Jacksonville.
Okay.
I found our apartment.
Okay.
According to our apartment complex. According to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, this building and every building in our apartment complex is a warehouse.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes. And so's the jalapeno tree next door. Except that warehouse has a red roof. So I continued flying down 79. And I found the church.
Okay.
According to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, our church is only one story.
Okay.
And has a flat roof.
Well, part of it has a flat roof.
Not the part where I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm saying you couldn't even see the steeple, for crying out loud.
Oh, okay.
But it did map the student building and the gym. They use metal buildings for that, so technically they got that part right.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then just for fun, I thought I was just trying out different places, and I ended up going down on the thing, flying out of Galveston Island, whatever the name of that airport is, and just flew north. And somewhere along that way, I thought, hey, the plane shouldn't be that far from the San Jacinto Monument and the battleship Texas. I want to see how they handled that in this game. So I slowly maneuvered my way over there because I was in a Cessna.
Okay.
Slow flying plane. And the game works in like real time.
Yeah.
So I work my way over there and I can see the San Jacinto Monument, and it's rendered, and you can tell they went and actually rendered the whole thing exactly the way it's supposed to be. You can even see the star on top of it. It's not just some cheap model. It's an actual model of the monument.
Yeah.
And so after I saw that, I thought, okay, that's cool. I kind of flew around the other direction saying, okay, the battleship Texas ought to be just right over here. There it is. Why are there trees growing out of it? I know the battleship Texas needs some serious repair work, but I don't think there's 20-year-old trees growing out of it. Wow. Microsoft, you might want to take a look at that one.
Right.
Because the thing is, you could actually see the guns. They modeled the guns and everything that's on the outside of it.
Right.
But then in the center of it, 2 big giant trees. It's like,
and you
didn't think you goofed.
Did you take a screen capture of this?
No, but I'll show it to you after the thing.
Wow.
If you want. I know how to get there.
Okay.
I think I can launch fairly close to it now.
All right.
Instead of having to go out of another airport. But anyway, I was doing that and I thought, you're so close, Microsoft. And the thing is, you get right down to, and you can tell Bing Maps has not done a high resolution capture photo of this area because you can see the pixels on the ground. And since it was at night, the street lights were on, and it had followed the street lights fairly, it followed the road, but then I got to looking at it and I realized there's not street lights where they're showing street lights. So I flew a little closer and I realized that every single set of streetlights were these glowing orbs.
Okay.
Just floating in midair. It's like, on the picture, I can see the actual light post. You could at least put it over there, over here by the church. You could at least do that, but no, you didn't do that. I don't know. It was just funny to watch, to look at, and it's interesting. I mean, the crashing is there is no crashing. Literally, unless you have the crashing turned on, which that just makes it go to a black screen when you run into something. The plane bounces off the ground.
Okay,
you can see the propeller turning.
Wow,
through the ground. I mean, it's not meant to be that close. Admittedly, it's meant to look amazing at 50,000 feet or however much above the ground. And I will admit, it looks beautiful, even for this area. I mean, you can't hardly see Love's Lookout because it just it doesn't look as hilly as I think it should.
Okay,
but I mean, hey, it was so cool.
All right,
so yeah.
So you had an interesting day flying simulation wise.
I'm sure our pastor would not be impressed by my methods.
Probably not.
Especially since I had all the assists on. So anytime my engine should have stalled, the AI took over and corrected it. Because I'm more worried about, let's see how close I can get. Let's see if I can find where I work. Let's see if I can find Walmart. Let's see if I can find our friend Chase's house. Actually, I never found his house. Too many trees.
Wow.
In that area. And I got turned around, and I didn't have I got to Jacksonville late at night. I couldn't hardly make out streets.
Okay.
I found the high school.
Cool.
But anyway. So yeah, that's what I've been watching and playing.
All right, good deal.
What do we got in the news?
Quite a bit, actually. I did mention this earlier. So it looks like another movie is being pulled from theaters.
I saw that.
Yes. So apparently, MGM's,
which is ironic because I saw the posters for this the last 3 weekends I was at the movie theater.
Yeah. So to get to the heart of the matter, Hotel Transylvania 4 Transformania is being pulled from cinema screens all over. And after Sony and Amazon are very close to inking a $100 million global streaming deal for the movie to be streamed on Amazon Prime.
I'm going to say boo.
Yes, agreed. Completely agree. So if this deal does get go through, which most likely it's going to, the movie again will no longer be in theaters and will go directly to Amazon Prime Video on October 1st. So if you still want to watch a spooky movie in October, you'll still have Adam Family 2 coming out in MGM, unless that gets pulled too. We don't know yet.
Well, except that one's not being pushed by Sony, I don't think, like this is, because this is the second Sony movie that has been in the past year that has been animated wise that's been pulled out of theaters and put on a streaming service.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, because they were claiming that due to they are claiming they are pulling it from theaters due to the uptick in the COVID-19 surges, and theaters in major cities like New York and other major cities are mandating masks, and that ever since the COVID-19 is not proper or not been validated for children under the age of 12, they are deciding not to skip theaters.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it is disappointing. All right, so in our next bit of news, Disney Plus debuted the trailer and announced the Japanese and English dub voices and for Star Wars Visions.
Yes, Star Wars anime.
Yes.
Why is it taking this long?
It looks freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Just freaking amazing.
And you can definitely tell one of them Studio Trigger.
Yeah, two of them actually are.
But you can definitely tell one is Studio Trigger.
Yes.
Because it looks like they got the guy who did Promare.
Yes, agreed.
To animate it.
I completely agreed. So
I swear one of those Jedi was the guy with the green hair from Promare. I swear.
All right, so the trailer is currently out on YouTube and all the other social media stuff.
And you can find the English dub one on our Facebook page.
Yes, and it will launch on Disney Plus starting September 22nd. All right, so going into movie video releases, or DVD, Blu-ray releases.
Home video
section. There we go. All right, so Space Jam: The New Legacy arrives for premiere digital ownership at $29.99, and also I've never heard of this before. 24-hour PVOD rental for $24.99.
I think that's technically pay-per-view.
Okay, that makes sense. Pay-per-view.
Paid video on demand.
Yes. At home starting September 3rd. The film will be released on 4K Ultra HD combo pack and a Blu-ray DVD pack starting October 5th, 2021. So if you're interested in that, you can go pick it up.
Very fast turnaround time.
Yes.
On that.
Yeah, think about the early 1990s when Jurassic Park came out. It took a year and a half for it to come out on VHS. Yeah. Just think about that. Like you go from a year and a half to, or the entire time COVID-19's been ravaging our planet, to now it's just taking a month for a movie that was in theaters now is in your hand.
By technically, there doesn't actually need to be a way other than letting theaters have first go at it.
Very true.
From a technical point of view.
Yes. All right. So going into other releases that are coming out, Batman the Long Halloween, which is based off the same DC comic graphic novel, which I've never read, but it seems interesting. The second, let's see. The second part of this 2-part film, which will be released August 10th. It's rated R. It's called Part 2, obviously. And I'm hoping for a bundle pack at some point where I can just buy all of it and watch it. Because it sounds like an interesting
my understanding is they did change some of it up from the comic, but I've not experienced either one to be able to say one way or the other.
I gotcha. All right. So my final bit of home release. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, will be released August 14th, 2021. And
on Paramount Plus, right?
No, actually home video release.
Oh. I thought it was a Paramount Plus exclusive for a while.
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Yeah. That we all are. All right. So it has been released as of the day we're recording, which is August 17th. So if you are a SpongeBob fan, go check it out or go pick it up or buy it on demand. All right.
Go get it.
Yeah, go get it. So I found 2 little bits of animation news regarding very classic animated TV animated shows that came out in the 2000s. All right, so Netflix has announced that they are doing an Avatar: The Last Airbender live action TV series. Yeah. Well, they just recently announced like who the cast is, who the director is, or producers, what have you. And so yeah. And then the next one got me, and I had to talk about this one. Powerpuff Girls.
Ah, yes. She got kicked off again. She actually left the show, the one that was going to play Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that dies a horrible death. Because I just hate the concept.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't need Powerpuff Girls to be teenagers who hate the world now because they're teenagers.
That is true. That is true. So apparently, the CW network,
especially since these teenagers are going to be played by 20-somethings.
Agreed.
If not 30-somethings.
And plus, it's the CW, and it's all drama llama with them.
Let Powerpuff Girls just be a fun show.
Agreed.
That's all I ask.
Yeah. So yes, apparently they were trying for a pilot, and according to the chairman and CEO of the CW network, that it was a miss, and they were the network was opting to shoot a new test for the concept, and apparently the actress who was going to play Blossom,
who used to play Quake on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Chloe Bennett.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently she has left the project. But apparently there's quite a few of the cast are still remain, and it is, quote, it is being dubbed Powerpuff. So I'm like, there again, I didn't grow up watching Powerpuff Girls, nor did I have watched a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it's like, okay, that's interesting, but at the same time, how bad are you gonna butcher it? That's the thing.
I don't know. I just know I have not been happy with their attempts to modernize Powerpuff Girls in the past 15 years. I haven't enjoyed it since really the original show. So, because the original show actually had a lot of good writing involved with it,
right?
And everything else just like, let's just try to make let's make it Adventure Time.
All right,
kind of, and then you get this where they're going to try and do this more adult version where they're disaffected teens and mad at the world. Because I actually read up on this when I saw it. It's like, this does not need to be what Powerpuff Girls is about, in my opinion. But, you know what? Whatever.
All right. So that is all I have for in the news.
All right. Then we need to jump into our spoiler-free section
of
our review of Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
Yes.
I had seen this. No, I hadn't seen all of this. I think I might have been in the room.
Okay.
But quit paying attention about 5 minutes into the movie, and the last time I would have quote unquote seen it. So I actually did not remember anything but like the first couple minutes of this movie before I started it.
Okay.
I was very impressed with what they were able to do with this. I mean, I think to some degree when I watched it before, I would have been kind of in that outside Disney phase where, because Disney had only a couple of good films.
Yeah.
And I didn't know well enough about what was coming out to know what were the good films. I hadn't actually seen Emperor's New Groove or Lilo and Stitch before this point when I would have seen this. So I didn't know that there actually was some good stuff. I just knew Pocahontas had come out and everything had kind of gone poo-poo after that.
Yeah.
Or just not stuff I was interested in. And I didn't get re-interested in it till like after Home on the Range,
which I hear is not a really good film.
Well, that was the last of the quote unquote bad movies I remember hearing about.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like this weird time, and I think eventually I heard about Tangled,
and
I think I may have seen it on Netflix, like the first time, like back in 2008.
Well,
I may have my timetable wrong.
Tangled came out in 2010.
So I have my timetable wrong.
Yes.
I'll admit this.
It happens.
So maybe I saw it in 2011 because it was on the Stars thing that Netflix was doing at the time.
Okay, gotcha.
They had a deal to put up in the Stars movies that Stars had the rights to put on TV. They were streaming them. So that's how I watched it the first time on Tangled. But yeah, this is in that period where it's just like I think I saw Meet the Robinsons and I saw Bolt, and for whatever reason, those didn't really jump out at me at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is just not when it came out. I was just not interested in Disney. Maybe interested in Pixar, but that's different. But I watched it this time and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I do have, of course, some issues with length, as in it's not long enough, and there's a bit of a rushing issue. But for the most part, if you're interested if you have any interest in the movie, definitely go give it a watch. It's a very good, very action-packed movie. I mean, this was I think what I read was this was the first PG movie since Black Cauldron came out, or was it PG-13? Either it was the first time they tried to make a more action adventure type movie.
Yes,
because there's no music in this whatsoever, and a song. No, it wasn't a musical.
Yeah,
and it's the first time that I think they even tried to tell a serious story without trying to lessen the impact for the little kiddies. I mean, Lion King is Hamlet, and lions die in that. Yeah. This is that I'm not discounting that in any way, shape, or form. But I'm saying it's a very good story. I have, like I said, I have some issues. I'll get to those, but yeah, if you have any interest in this movie, go watch it.
All right. So, question: where did you watch the film?
I watched it on Disney Plus.
Excellent.
Why?
Just curious.
I thought you were about to tell me, well, after a certain release, all Disney's versions of this movie had deleted some scene halfway through that actually fixed your pacing problem or something like that.
No. I thought it would be good for our audience to know where we watched it for a review.
Fair enough.
All right, so
but yeah, I watched it on Disney Plus, but I think I've got the Blu-ray around here somewhere.
Really?
I think I got it through Disney Movie Club.
Oh, okay.
It's just I can't find it.
Okay.
So for those of you wondering why I did do this for the Retro Rewind Backlog Golf, despite the fact I streamed it, that's why I've got it somewhere.
All righty. All right. So, I first watched this movie on a mission trip to when I was still a youth. Back in
mission trip to where?
Oh, you're talking. I had it in my head and it just went blank.
Well, then
Lubbock.
It shouldn't be Mexico because I hate to think you'd forget Mexico.
No, I was actually in Lubbock.
Lubbock. Okay.
Yeah, we were in Lubbock, Texas, and someone had brought it or they had it at this church, and I'm watching it, and mind you, a girl I really had a huge crush on was there with her boyfriend, and they both really enjoyed it. So I instantly didn't like it. So there you go. That's what it is for my, early like 20 something mindset.
Yeah.
So
you were a real drama llama back then.
Apparently. I can. Yeah, let's not go there. Either way, so I did wind up watching it much later on, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I kind of like, man, I was being really immature. So yeah, I watched this later on, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And watching it this time, I watched it on a Blu-ray, which was a Blu-ray, DVD that I recently purchased, and dubbed, yeah. So I enjoyed this movie tremendously. It's definitely it's a PG film for very good reasons, because it does deal with a lot of really deep issues. It deals with a lot of things that are, it's like you're dealing with, like, possibly fictitious civilizations that completely wiped off the map, and then somehow are, in the bottom of the ocean. It's got really good stories, really great characters. I enjoyed the mess out of this film, and would I recommend it? Yes. Family friendly? Yes. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that brings us to the bumpers.
Mm-hmm.
So join us on the other side of those, and we will get to spoiling this thing.
All right.
No, I don't have the intermission logged in here yet,
okay,
because once that project gets to a certain point, then I can do that, but it hasn't gotten to that point yet, as far as I can tell.
I got you.
Anyway, jumping into what they've been talking about in our thing, which has not been much. Josh says, Jacob E.exe has stopped working. When you were laughing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then he posted a clip to our...
Probably me laughing my head off.
Yeah, but that's... Yeah. We'll see. Let's find out real quick.
Yeah.
Y'all won't be able to watch, but, small chance y'all might be able to hear. Let's turn it up. And who needs to make sure he doesn't sit on the dirt. Welcome, Jacob. I don't expect to do this like so quickly. You know that?
It was such a good. I mean, like, it was so
actually got you like that in a while.
So simple, such a simple joke, but it just broke me for some reason. I don't know why, but it was so funny to me. All right, let me get my bearings. Oh.
Me watching myself laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he actually did call that clip Jacob.exe has stopped working. So thanks for that, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
But that's pretty much all that's been in there, because the only other thing he says is that was a clip. So
gotcha.
Unless we got anything else,
we
need to jump into the spoiler section of this thing. Let me get over here. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Coming back in. The following is a spoiler-filled review of the movie Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Listener discretion is advised. Atlantis, The Lost Empire was written and directed by Gary Trudell and Kirk Wise, who directed both Beauty and the Beast and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was also written by Tab Murphy, Joss Whedon, Bryce Zabel, Jackie Zabel, and David Reynolds. Jumping into the cast, we got Michael J. Fox as Milo, who is most well known for playing Marty McFly in Back to the Future.
Indeed.
Corey Burton was the voice of Moliere. You know, the Mole Man.
Yes, that was Corey Burton.
Well, yeah, and in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, he is the voice of both Count Dooku and Cad Bane.
Really?
Yeah, Moliere is Count Dooku.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Claudia Christian played Helga, and in the TV show Babylon 5, she played a character named Susan Ivanova. James Garner was the voice of Rourke, and he is most well known for playing Jim Rockford in The Rockford Files. John Mahoney played Preston Whitmore, and he played Martin Crane in Frasier. Phil Morris was the voice of Dr. Sweet, and the only thing I really found of interest for him was he was trainee Forrester on Star Trek III, The Search for Spock.
Okay.
And speaking of Spock, Leonard Nimoy played the Atlantean King, and of course he was best known for playing Science Officer Spock on Star Trek. Don Novello played Vinny, and back on Saturday Night Live back in the day, he played a character named Father Guido Sarducci. I think he's I don't know if he's Catholic or Jewish, but look it up. It's interesting.
Okay.
He actually reprised this role in a lot of different shows as cameos.
Interesting.
Jacqueline Obradors was the voice of Audrey, and she played Detective Rita Ortiz in NYPD Blue.
Oh, okay.
Florence Stanley played Mrs. Packard, and she was a waitress in a Goofy movie.
Yes.
David Ogden Stiers was Mr. Harcourt, and he played Governor Ratcliffe and Wiggins in Pocahontas. Natalie Strom was the voice of the young kids. And do you remember a TV show called The Zeta Project that's technically part of the DC animated universe?
Yes.
Or that Bruce Timm made?
Yes.
Well, on that, she played a character named Kid Gloria, and that is her only other credit.
Really?
Yes. Cree Summer was the voice of Princess Kida, and on the television series Codename Kids Next Door, she was the voice of Number 5.
Okay, like just for 1 second, can you pronounce her entire name? Kida's full name.
I don't have her full name listed in here. I just have what IMDb listed it as.
All right, never mind. I'm giving you a hard time.
Okay. Last but not least, Jim Varney was the voice of Cookie. He is most well known for playing the character of Ernest P. Worrell in many of the Ernest movies and as a spokesman in television commercials.
Excellent.
He played the same character. But from an animation point of view, we will both know him best as Slinky Dog in Toy Story.
Yes.
And jumping into the Kingdom Hearts connections, we, of course, starting off with Leonard Nimoy, who, of course, was the king here. And in Kingdom Hearts, he played the character of Lord Xehanort, the first voice of Lord Xehanort.
I gotcha.
Jim Cummings was additional voices here.
Of course.
And in Kingdom Hearts, he was Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Ed, Pete, Cheshire Cat, and Julius. David Ogden Stiers, who was Mr. Harcourt here, also played the characters of Dr. Jumba Jakiba, Doc, and Cogsworth.
Oh, okay.
And last, and most certainly not least, the Corey Burton, who was Moliere here. He is also the voice of Yen Sid, Handsome the Wise, Zeus, Dale, Claude Frollo, Captain Hook, Magic Mirror, Grumpy, Sark, the Master Control Program, Santa Claus, Shan Yu, and the Peddler in Kingdom Hearts.
Wow.
He is like, well, I won't say he's half the cast because that's not half the cast, but pretty much anybody who needs a authoritarian sounding voice, he's played, that they didn't get somebody big in there. But yeah, that brings me to the end of the Kingdom Hearts connections. What do we got in info and stuff?
Okay, so info and stuff. Let me get there real fast. I'm going through a lot of news. Okay, so info and stuff. It is available if you are a subscriber to Disney Plus.
Indeed.
IMDb, it is a 6.9 out of 10. Production was Walt Disney Pictures, obviously, and Walt Disney Feature Animation. Distributor was Buena Vista Pictures. Release date was its premiere was June 3rd, 2001. It premiered at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, California, and worldwide to the United States and everybody else on June 15th, 2001. Let's go to box office real fast. Its estimated budget was $120 million. Its opening weekend for the United States and Canada, this is pretty sad, $229,000. Its gross for the United States and Canada combined was $24 million. Now, its world gross did tick that up a little bit with $186 million, but it did not do well in theaters. To look at between its advertising and everything else in between, it didn't make its money back. It was considered a financial failure. All right, so going into home video release. Atlantis, The Lost Empire was released on VHS and DVD on January 29th, 2002. During the first month of its home release, the film led in VHS sales and was third in the VHS and DVD sales combined. Sales from rentals of the VHS and DVD combined would eventually go to $157 million in revenue by mid 2003. Disney digitally remastered and released Atlantis on Blu-ray on June 11, 2011, bundled with its sequel, Atlantis: Milo's Return. Speaking of sequels, Atlantis: Lost Empire was meant to provide a springboard for an animated series which was supposed to be entitled Team Atlantis, which was to present a further adventure of its characters. However, because the film underperformed at the box office, the series was not produced. In 2002, on May 20th, Disney released a direct-to-video sequel called Atlantis: Milo's Return. Consisted of the first 3 episodes of the abandoned series. And they had a video game, apparently.
Yeah, I saw that in the credits.
Yes.
A CD-ROM game, specifically.
Wow. But yeah, that's all I have for information. And apparently they like Disney and any other corporation, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar corporation, they were planning to make a ride out of Atlantis, but due to its financial flop, they decided against it because it was going to go somewhere else. But
which is sad because they actually, in preparation for that, as I saw down there, tore up the what is the name of that ride? The Fantastic Voyage?
Yeah.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
They actually tore that ride up because they were going to do some upgrades to make it, set up for Atlantis.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I assume they must have, just finished upgrading it and kept the Fantastic Voyage theming instead. But I don't know this for certain.
Yeah, because what was it? That same year, Finding Nemo actually came out very close to this.
Yeah.
And so they
probably just put the Finding Nemo characters in there.
That's what they did.
That'd be just as easy.
Yeah.
Getting into the summary right quick. A mysterious explosion sends a tsunami towards the city of Atlantis. During the evacuation, the Queen of Atlantis is lifted up into a strange floating crystal, leaving behind her distraught daughter, Kida. The crystal merges with the Queen and creates a dome, preserving the city's innermost district, and Atlantis sinks beneath the waves. Nearly 8,000 years later, in 1914, Milo Thatch, a marginalized linguist at the Smithsonian Institution, discovers the existence of the Shepherd's Journal, a manuscript containing directions to Atlantis. After Milo's proposal to search for the journal is rejected by the museum board, a mysterious woman, Helga Sinclair, introduces Milo to Preston B. Whitmore, an eccentric millionaire. Whitmore has already funded a successful effort to retrieve the journal as repayment of a debt to Milo's late grandfather, and recruits Milo to decipher the journal and join an expedition to Atlantis. The expedition is headed by Commander Rourke, who also led the journal recovery expedition. The crew includes Helga, Vinny, a demolitions expert, Moliere, a geologist, Dr. Sweet, medical officer, Audrey, a mechanic, Mrs. Packard, a radio operator, Cookie, a chuck wagon chef, and several trained soldiers. They set out in the massive submarine Ulysses, but are attacked by a mechanical leviathan that guards Atlantis' entrance. The Ulysses is destroyed, leaving only a handful of survivors. Following the journal's instructions, they enter a cavern and travel through a dormant volcano where they are met by Kita, miraculously still alive and young. She and the other Atlanteans have forgotten their written language, and the society has languished, but they can understand English due to spoken Atlantean being the basis for many modern languages. Against her father's wishes, Kita enlists Milo to help Atlantis regain its old glory and leads him to an underwater mural of the sunken part of the city. Milo learns that the heart of Atlantis provides the people there with longevity and once powered their devices via smaller crystals they all wear. He discovers a page of the journal, which also contained this information, is missing. Returning to the surface, he is confronted by Rourke, who reveals he has the missing page, revealing he is planning to steal the heart and sell it at a high price. Callously not caring about the Atlanteans' fate. He and his crew capture Milo and Kita, and Rourke mortally wounds the king of Atlantis, demanding to know where the heart is. However, he eventually finds it himself beneath the palace. The giant crystal, sensing a threat, merges with Kita, and Rourke puts her in a crate, intending to sell her at the surface. Milo sarcastically congratulates his friends, which causes them to reconsider, knowing that they don't want to be responsible for the death of the innocent people. Rourke, Helga, and the soldiers leave the rest behind and start for the surface, putting Atlantis and the citizens in danger. The dying king gives Milo his own crystal and explains he once attempted to create weapons from the heart, causing the past explosion and the fate of his wife. He also explains the crystal must have a royal host when the city is in danger and begs Milo to save Atlantis and Kita. Milo and his friends rally the Atlanteans to reactivate their machinery and pursue and attack the mercenaries. Rourke and Helga have a falling out during the battle, and he throws her into the dormant volcano. As she dies, she shoots the airship containing Kita's crate. Milo and Rourke fight on the burning airship over the heart, and Milo slashes Rourke with a crystal-charged shard of glass, turning Rourke into a living crystal statue, which is shattered by the airship's propellers. The burning airship crash lands and awakens the volcano. Milo and the rest flee back to Atlantis with Kita, who, still merged with the crystal, rises into the sky and awakens ancient stone guardians who raise the flooded portion of Atlantis into the dome and protect the entire city from the lava flow. The crystal then returns Kita alive to Milo. Milo elects to stay in Atlantis with Kita, with whom he has fallen in love, and the rest return to the surface, promising to keep their adventure secret to preserve Atlantis' safety. Whitmore alone learns the truth from photographs taken by Mrs. Packard. Getting into the trivia for this, the filmmakers noted that the vast majority of their research about Atlantis was primarily done through the internet. Sifting through all this information they could find, both plausible and fictitious, to pick out what would work to facilitate the story they were telling, as well as the mythology and world building they were creating. For the visual design, the directors immediately did not want Atlantis to be heavily influenced by the commonly used Greek look. Art director Dave Goetz noted that as part of the desire to illustrate the Atlantean civilization as being the quote-unquote mother culture of all of the civilizations on Earth, they looked into the unusual architectural designs used in Southeast Asia, notably Cambodia, as well as the Mayan architecture found in South America. Further refinements were done in an effort to emulate the style of production designer Mike Mignola. The core productions team took a trip to Carlsbad Caverns National Park in southeastern New Mexico during the pre-production stages of the film. This was done for research to get a better feel of what it's like to live underground. It also provided inspiration toward the development of the caverns the Whitmore expedition journeys through towards Atlantis. Mark Okrand, who created the Atlantean language, also created the Vulcan and Klingon languages for the Star Trek franchise. Jim Varney, who played Cookie, died just before finishing the film. The "I ain't so good at speechifying" line near the end is the only line not spoken by Varney. Stephen Barr did the voice for that scene. Because the movie was planned out as an action adventure, the production crew wore t-shirts during production to work that read Atlantis. Fewer songs, more explosions.
Indeed.
The written Atlantean language is to be read left to right, drop down a line, and right to left. Continuing the cycle, it was done to create a flowing water-like movement reminiscent of the Atlantean culture. During the campfire scene, Milo comments that the shepherd's journal cuts off, like there's a page missing. Plato's narrative about Atlantis, which I failed to mention this is somewhat based on, the oldest known written account, cuts off mid-sentence because the rest of the manuscript has been lost. After Milo gets seasick on the first ship, his line, "Carrots. Why are there always carrots? I didn't even eat carrots," was ad-libbed by Michael J. Fox, who is allergic to carrots. This is one of the last Disney films to feature a character that smokes.
Yes.
Mike Mignola, how do you say his name?
Mike Mignola.
Mike Mignola, creator of the Hellboy comic books, provided many initial production sketches for the film. Mignola was initially contracted by Disney representative asking if he would work on the project. Mignola's first response was, "How did you get my phone number?" Milo Fatch is the first male hero in a full-length Disney animated film to wear glasses. The fish in Whitmore's aquarium are cephalocanths. The cephalocanth is a sort of living fossil in that they were thought to be extinct until specimens were caught in the 1930s, around 20 years after this film is set. Then he mentions that after he opens to the flower shop, he'll probably take August off. There's a long-standing tradition in Italian culture that businesses close for the entire month of August, so the owner and their employees and their families can take an extended vacation.
That's gonna be nice.
When the surface dwellers first meet the Atlanteans address them in French, Spanish, Italian, Hebrew, German, Greek, Chinese, and Taiwanese. Milo speaks to them in Atlantean, Latin, and French. At the beginning of the movie, Milo references the book of Job when describing the Leviathan. The specific verse he paraphrases are Job chapter 41, verses 18 and 19. However, because I believe in context, here is all of Job chapter 41. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook, or press down his tongue with a cord? Can you put a rope in his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he make many pleas to you? Will he speak to you in soft words? Will he make a covenant with you to take him for your servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird? Or will you put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hands on him. Remember the battle. You will not do it again. Behold, the hope of man is false. He is laid low even at the sight of him. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Who then is he who can stand before me? Who has given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole of heaven is mine. I will not keep silence concerning his limbs, or his mighty strength, or his goodly frame. Who can strip off his outer garment? Who could come near him with a bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? Around his teeth is terror. His back is made of rows of shields, shut up closely as with a seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They clasp each other and cannot be separated. His sneezings flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the dawn. Out of his mouth go flaming torches. Sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils comes forth smoke, as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame comes forth from his mouth. In his neck abides strength, and terror dances before him. The folds of his flesh stick together, firmly cast on him and immovable. His heart is hard as a stone, hard as the lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. At the crashing, they are beside themselves. Though the sword reaches him, it does not avail, nor the spear, the dart, or the javelin. He counts iron as straw and bronze as rotted wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. For him, slingstones are turned to stubble. Clubs are counted as stubble. He laughs at the rattle of javelins. His underparts are like sharp potsherds. He spreads himself like a threshing sledge on the mire. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. Behind him he leaves a shining wake. One would think the deep to be white-haired. On the earth there is not his like, a creature without fear. He sees everything that is high. He is king over the sons of pride. And that is the actual biblical description of Leviathan that is supposed to be the mechanical Leviathan we see that destroys the main ship.
Yes.
Just thought I'd put that out there because that's a lot better description of who Leviathan is than what Milo gave us.
Yes. And there's also some people definitely that think Leviathan was a dinosaur.
It could be the Loch Ness Monster for all we really know.
Exactly.
All I know is it was probably hanging out in the Mediterranean for a lot of the time.
Probably.
Which kind of tells me that's actually where they are in the movie, is somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea. But I don't know that for certain because they never say.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, it would make sense geographically.
For Plato to know about it, yeah.
Yeah. And most of what we know of history was in the Mediterranean Sea.
Exactly. It's not too far away from the Fertile Crescent.
Exactly.
Which is where Eden's supposed to be. But anyway.
Yes.
Now that I have read from the Holy Book, why don't you tell us your first like for this movie?
My first like, it's such a... This is one of the first Disney films to actually do more of a diverse cast. Or cast of characters, mind you. Like you have Dr. Sweet. You have what's the engineer's name?
Audrey,
thank you. And like you have all this like collaborative bunch of characters that are so unique and dynamic. You have Mole, you have the cook, you have the radio operator, which there again, I am terrible with names. People, I'd apologize for that.
Well, in your defense, they barely give you any time to put name to face in this movie.
That is true. They do
all these characters.
That is so true.
Outside of Milo and Kita and Rourke.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would agree with you on that. Yeah, it's just like the cast is so different because during the commentary they were talking about like the fact of like how diverse the characters are, and they just thought it was like, hey, this is a good opportunity to put in an African American character or like using different diversities and
I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you would not necessarily, if you're putting together an expedition,
mm-hmm.
best of the best, money's no obstruction.
Yeah,
you would hire the best people available for the job, no matter what race or gender they are.
Exactly. And I thought just definitely when this was set in
1914.
Yeah, 1914, right at the start of World War II. And like
World War
I. I apologize. I'm
the amateur history nerd.
Yes, I lost
World War One.
That's World War One. I apologize. I'm losing nerd creds here for saying that. But either way, yeah, it's the fact to be like, this is set in 1914. Like you said before, it was set right at the beginning of World War One. The idea of like hiring someone who is a different skin tone or ethnic or a woman,
yeah,
during 1914 was like unheard of. But Be like, I find it just very pleasing to the eye when they so like, oh, okay, let's use the best assets that we can, the best people, the best engineers, the best medics, what have you, to get the job done. And the fact that Dr. Sweets be like, he's half African American, half Native American. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, oh, really? And so I like the diversity of the cast, and I think it was a really good idea for Disney to do that, and they've continued to do that. And it's be like using more of the color palette in which God has created.
Yes.
I thought that was very unique. They did that.
Thankfully, it's not forced.
No, it's not.
It's very easy to force that diversity where it feels forced.
Oh, absolutely.
And even if you are doing it intentionally, picking these, I like that. It feels like, this is a natural pick for this because this is the best of the best.
Yeah.
It says. Doesn't matter who they are other than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually going to jump off that and say that I love the large cast of fully realized characters.
Agreed.
Even though we don't get to spend as much time with these characters as I would like.
Yes.
More on that later. You can tell they thought through the backgrounds.
They did.
Of all these characters. They all had their strengths, their weaknesses, what they were great at, with their foibles. Everything that, they were three-dimensional characters in many ways. And I liked that they actually went to that much trouble. I so wish that they could have put more of these characters in the movie and have more moments with them. We've got a couple of them, but in a lot of cases, it's all, we've got this character and we've got this joke that only works with this character, so that's why this is in here.
Agreed.
We get a little bit of their backstories right before the Fireflies catch everything on fire, but we don't really get. So at least we have that. They are fully realized in that way. I don't want to jump too much because I'm going into my dislike because this is going to come back up.
Okay.
Spoilers. But I like that they're fully realized three-dimensional characters.
Awesome.
What's your second like?
My second like would be speaking of Atlantis. The idea of they fully developed the world of Atlantis down to the language, down to the clothing, down to the architecture. It'd be like they really went into depth of how everything works in this, this world and this geosphere of a world. And I found that incredible because, like, looking at the fact that they, like you said before, they use Mayan, they used Aztec, they used all these different diverse ideas of culture, and didn't want to go with, like you said earlier, of typically using the Greek idea. Greek idea. They did use what Homer wrote this, correct?
Plato. I
apologize. Plato. There again, I'm losing points here. Plato, his description of Atlantis as being a circular country on the water. I thought that was very okay. They kept that core. They kept that idea of what Atlantis looked like according to Plato, and then just kind of give and take what you said before of taking the different myths and the ideas and the theories of what Atlantis was, and just made it this fleshed out world that was living and breathing and had basically a heartbeat to it.
Yeah.
And it was so unique how they did that. And I love that part. And it's so unique. So it's like so unique. They actually went and just, the world building was so incredible. The fact that they made a language.
Yeah.
And I think one of the extra features on the DVD, and I'm hoping to get a hold of the Blu-ray at some point, and to actually hear someone actually try to teach you how to speak Atlantean, which is like, wow, that's awesome. And yeah, guys, just wait for Saturday when it comes out on the podcast. You're gonna get a real treat on that one.
Yeah, at the very least, look at the album art.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I'm doing the trivia. I realized I've got to fix it now. Anyways,
so, yeah, just the world building definitely for Atlantis is just incredible, and definitely they set it during 1914. That's awesome. They never speak of World War One, the Great War, which I found kind of odd because
they did when Milo is yelling at Rourke, he does mention, "I bet you're going to go and sell it to the Kaiser." There is that line.
They do speak of the world as a general.
Yes, but he's going to sell it to the Kaiser, which should have been the head of Germany.
No, Russia.
That would be the Tsar.
Yes.
They say Kaiser.
Oh, they say Tsar. There again, I'm losing
same root word.
Yes,
because it's still based on Caesar.
Yes, I agree. Yes, there again, I'm losing points left and right here. People, help! The Kaiser, as in the Russian Kaiser or German. Just shoot me now. Either way, I'm saying that jokingly.
Yes.
Continue.
Well, I have a question for you.
What's that?
Did you look at my notes?
No, I didn't.
Because I have a feeling our third is going to come out the same too. Our first two technically have.
Okay.
Because, well, I had it in a different order, but just to keep everything neat and organized in the show, I'm going to say how well thought out the Atlantean culture is.
Really?
Yes, the architecture, like you were saying, based off all these other things, but there is very good world building in how the heart powers everything and how it all comes together. I mean, I caught that they were on that the giant robot thing long before they ever brought it up, because there's that one scene where they climb to the head of the mountains. Of Milo and Kita can look out over all of Atlantis, and are going, "You're on top of the Iron Giant, I think.
You're top of a golem."
Yeah, it's like, I bet you he's gonna pop back up at the end of this film.
Oh yeah, it's good storytelling.
He does. But yeah, the way everything looks, the fact that the minute you see the crystal hanging around her neck, you immediately place that's the same color blue. That's not the same color blue that that enveloped her mother earlier in the thing. It's like they did a very good job of only letting you see this shade of blue.
Yes.
To let you know that this is the power of the Atlantean culture.
Yes.
And I appreciated the fact that they went to that much trouble to, keep everything consistent, because it gave a very visual a language to the film in that instance. So yeah,
good point.
And you can now I'll bring up some things later about how they kind of messed up with the Atlantean culture, but
okay,
we'll get there when we get there.
All right.
So what's your third like?
All right.
Let's see if you stole mine here too.
Maybe. All right. So Kita.
Okay, we did at least separate.
Okay. All right. So being a child from the 90s, or growing up in the 90s, as a cartoon character, let me get the bases out there down. Growing up, the two characters I thought were the prettiest characters I ever met. They were just like, oh wow, she is so hot. Was Princess Jasmine and Jessica Rabbit. And so they're like, okay, just being a red-blooded male who loves the opposite sex,
and apparently has a thing for scantily clad women.
I'm not saying that.
I'm just putting.
Yes.
I'm looking at who you picked. Here.
Yes, I agree. Also, I did like girl. Let's say that.
Well, who wouldn't?
Exactly. Either way, be like, Kita's design is like very well done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow. It's like, okay, Disney went there again.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like look at your adult female characters. Let's use that. Because Audrey is very much a child. She's very much a kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, her clothes are literally too big for her.
Yeah, agreed.
In every shot.
Yeah, every shot. But then you have all the adult women, like including your villainess, is like, when you first see her, it's like, whoa, okay, they went there.
Well, I mean, that first shot is very much the noir.
Yes.
She was in my office when I arrived.
Exactly.
And, she had a case for me. She looked like 100 miles of road work cleaned up nice or something like that.
Yeah, it's just like the design work, how they did Kita, and honestly, I can't remember her name. But either way, it's just like how they drew the female characters, and some might say, well, that's sexist and all that. It's like, no, they just drew them very well, and they're very physically appealing. And I enjoy that part. It's like, wow, they to quote Milo, it's like, I see pretty girl. I mean, I swim pretty good.
Yes. You're referring to Kita Gakash Nadak.
Exactly. That, try saying that 4 times twice. 4 times in a row.
Kita Gakash, I can't even do it once.
Thank you for my point. But it's just more, it's the how they did the adult female characters. They gave them very much, like you said, noir kind of. It's like, oh, okay. Like she said in my office, and it's like, whoa, okay, she came out of nowhere like a James Bond girl or something like that. It's just like it's like design wise incredible. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is a Disney film. And I'm like, okay, I haven't seen anything like this since Aladdin. And it's like, wow. And I'm being honest, I'm being a guy here. It's like, wow, that was interesting. Just saying.
Okay.
I'm being honest here and being transparent. It was like, wow, I like the design of this character. Really cool. So it's my third.
My number 3 is the beautiful use of CG animation in this film.
Agreed.
I mean, we're at the tail end of the 2D animation thing where when they use 3D animation, it's painfully obvious.
Yes.
But here it's done a lot better. The ships the Atlantean vessels look amazing. Their mining and all the trucks and the driller and the giant submarine look spot on.
Yes.
And let's get right down to it. The scene at the heart where you've got the energy thing and the giant faces of the past kings.
Yes.
All of that, especially after she takes on, she gets, inhabited by the crystal and they fall down around her. And it's like, and that scene had to have been done fully in 3D animation software.
Oh yeah.
Or at least the pullout, and maybe her body was the 2D cell animation or the equivalent of that in the cap system. Because it's still very much a cap system.
Yes.
You can tell that is there, but I mean, for them, there's so much depth in this film.
Yes.
And they use the 3D so well. It's amazing what they were able to do with it. So yeah, my number 3 is the beautiful use of the CG animation.
I would agree. And to kind of, bounce off your point, there's the scene where the submarine is descending and you get this amazing shot where Milo's on the bridge on the deck.
Yeah.
And you get him. He is traditionally drawn in traditional animation, and everything else around is purely CG.
Yeah,
and it's just like seamless. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, okay, Milo's
the only reason we know it's 3D is because you can't do a shot like that in 2D.
No,
not the way they did it.
Not the way they did it.
And I've seen some when they've tried it, like with like way back when we reviewed Wacko's Wish, you had that scene where the camera went around Pinky and the Brain's Da Vinci helicopter.
Yeah.
And you can tell where they cheated.
Yeah.
To make it go around there because it's a 3-dimensional object. This, no, you've got the whole. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I think of a movie like that.
This is how you should be using CG in a 2D film.
Agreed. I think the best, if you were to go back to original 2D animation, the movie that reminds me of how like the best use of traditional animation would be Red Line, that anime, and just be like it's all hand drawn, and you have some like amazing points where you're that. Yeah, a 3D, three-dimensional shot of a vehicle, and it's done beautifully, and it's all done hand drawn with a little bit of animation help. Words are failing me today. Let's say that.
I can tell.
I'm fumbling all over the place. I can't catch the ball. But wait, squirrel. Either way, it's like the animation in this movie is very gorgeous, very lush. Let's say that for 2001, it's done very well.
I agree,
and it still holds up. Now, granted, someone who watched this for the first time be like, "That's not good animation," but to think 2001, that's really good animation.
Oh yeah. Okay, so before we jump into our dislikes,
okay,
we just got rated by Geek Devotions on our stream.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
So thanks, Leslie, for coming on over. I'm assuming Dallas is with you also.
Nice.
And yes, Josh, I don't have the bots for the shout outs like Retro has, for 2 reasons. A, I don't know how to set it up, and B, when you'd have done that, we would have been in the middle of a sentence and it would have messed up the podcast. So yeah, I don't have the bots, but thank you for that anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are currently in the middle of our review for Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
Yes.
We just finished our likes. We're about to get into our dislikes. So if you don't want to be spoiled, yeah, go ahead and turn the stream off now if you've not seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just want to come hear us gripe for the next couple minutes about a couple of little things here and there, feel free to stay with us because we're in the downside slope of the review. But we're probably, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes until we're done. So
roughly.
Yeah. So thanks for coming over, and we'll see y'all. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, thanks for coming.
All right. So let's get into our dislikes.
All right. If you don't mind, I want to go first.
Go for it.
So I can maybe grab a few dislikes before you steal them. I wish we got more time with these characters.
Agreed.
They are these characters are so very well realized, and we spend almost no time with them.
Yeah.
None of the time the movie feels like it's about 30 minutes too short.
Yeah.
And if we'd gotten an extra 30 minutes, we could have had more time, not just with our crew of the ship, but also give us more time with Milo and Kita's relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, probably this only takes place, they're only down there for like maybe 2-3 days?
Roughly?
No, 1 day, because they were only allowed to stay for a night before they went back. So that's when half this movie would have had to have occurred, was in that one night.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very quick
turnaround.
But if we'd have gotten more time, both with their relationship and letting us get to spend more time with the crew, I feel the movie could have been just so much better.
Yeah. I completely agree with you on that.
That's my first dislike.
All right. Mine is more of a question than anything. All right. So when it comes to the heart, the crystal, the power source.
Yes.
Okay. So we see that the father, the king, the current king,
Leonard
Nimoy, Kita's father, like he has aged very much over the 3,000 to 4,000 years. 8,000 years. 8,000 years. My apologies. 8,000 years.
Believe me, I know it's 8,000 because this is going to start making up part of my second.
It's like, okay, so Kita's father, Leonard Nimoy, is a very old man, now blind.
Yes.
So Kita looks like she's probably like a late adult, maybe late, like early adult, late teens.
She looks to be about the same age as Lilo's sister in Lilo and Stitch.
Yes. Someone who's like 19, 20 years old, maybe younger.
I was thinking closer to like 25.
Something like that.
In terms of development.
Oh,
I mean, in reality, she's like 8,012.
Yeah, exactly. She's very old. I'm like, wow. Either the heart makes them be like their age like.
Well, they do say that the crystal does help in their immortality.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
It's keeping them alive.
Yes.
More on that in a second.
Yes. But it's more along the lines of like, okay, and so apparently, I know Milo says it to Thatch, not Thatch, the captain, the colonel. Rourke. Thank you. There again, I am terrible with names, people. Rourke, they'd be like, if you do this, we're taking their power source, their life essence, be like they'll die. Yeah. And so like their entire life force is connected to the heart. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. The fact to be like, well, there again, it is ancestor worship, and it'd be like their very essence, their key to survival is the ancestors and giving them life.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting, but at the same time, it's like, that's more problematic than anything.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, the exact same situation that evil bad guy comes and steals it and gets away with it, that everybody dies.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I wonder where.
Yes, in fact, since you went ahead and I assume that pretty much ends your point.
Pretty much.
I'm going to jump ahead to the point I actually had after my number 2.
Okay.
And talk about how you can see the ending of this film come a mile away.
Yes, you can.
I mean, the minute you're introduced to Rourke, it's like, you're the villain.
Yep.
And the hot chick that she's obviously the villain.
His second command.
Yeah, second command. It was almost to the point where since she was introducing Milo to Whitmire,
yes,
it made me wonder: is Whitmire a villain too? What is his role in all this? Does he know what these guys are doing with this, or are they putting one over on him? That's never explained.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's this ending comes just so quickly, but that's how it's going to end, because they're going to get down to the civilization.
Mm-hmm.
The civilization's got all this magic that's going to help the surface world. We obviously can't let them keep it,
mm-hmm.
so we've got to bring it to the surface world. The only thing that throws it into throws a kink into the normal story is that the crystal inhabits Kita,
mm-hmm.
and now they're technically not only stealing this power source, but they're also now stealing Milo's girlfriend.
Pretty much.
Giving him 2 reasons to want to go after Rourke.
Yes.
It's just very, very predictable. It feels kind of Indiana Jones-esque.
Yeah, 1912, 1914
I mean, this kind of
style of storytelling.
In some ways, this kind of feels like Temple of Doom, actually.
Yeah, it does.
In some ways. And so the heroes of the film have to help the natives remember who they are. More on that in a second.
Yes.
And go after this guy so that the ancient culture can remain the way it was. This is so predictable. I don't know why this is the route we decided to go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's still a fun story, but it's very predictable. But like you see it projected out very far away. It's like, okay, here's your villains.
If you've never seen this kind of story before, maybe you wouldn't know about this trope.
Yeah.
But I've seen so many adventure stories, including all 3 Indiana Jones films.
Not counting the 4th.
I didn't say there was a 4th.
Yeah, what 4th film?
Exactly. There's no 4th film. Now, Steven Spielberg did direct a fan film, ironically. But there's no official 4th film.
Okay. Whatever. Whatever.
If Retro Rewind is listening, you're welcome. But But I mean, I've seen these kind of stories before, so I see the trope coming. And
yes,
they didn't even do anything interesting with the trope to make it worth going that direction, at least to me.
Yes.
And maybe that's because we were kind of setting up for whatever the TV show was going to be.
Yeah.
Since they were to some degree thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, they were definitely teeing it up.
Right. This very much feels like a very high, in some ways, this feels like a high production pilot of a TV show.
Well, I'll tell you, the second movie's on.
But you know what
trailer.
I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
it's a setup.
We're setting this up here because we know we want to do a TV show.
Yeah.
So we're going to do all the world building here with the exception that world building will also pay off
Mm-hmm.
in the TV show that never came.
Exactly. Sad.
But yeah, that's it's just you can see the ending coming, and that's what I don't like. But anyway, what's your
mine? It's in that same vein. That the you'll be like you know the villains like just right off the bat. It's not a frozen reveal that Han's the bad guy, which throws you off. Because there again, it does have that same vein of Indiana Jones, 1930s, 1920s, 1910s adventure story, which is a good type of storytelling, but it's been so overused that people like us, like anybody who loves movies, it'd be like you see it a mile away. It's okay, Rourke's your villain, but like before you meet the guy.
And how do you know Rourke's the villain? He's the military type.
Yeah. Not saying the military is bad.
No, but
it's
that's
just,
how
it typically works.
That's how the trope goes.
Exactly.
Like, the military type, they're only down here to steal the weapon of ancient power to use against their enemies or sell to the highest bidder.
Exactly.
That's just how it works. I'm not saying this is how military people would think.
No,
in reality, but this is the trope we're going with.
Yeah, it's very much the very like there again. They're like tropes are there for design for purpose,
right?
And
I have nothing against the use of tropes,
exactly.
But I want tropes to be used in a way that helps the story, does not hurt the story to where I'm somewhat checked out on who this villain is. I didn't even care about Rourke.
No, exactly.
This film,
because
I knew he was the villain, and I knew the second in command was his second in command in terms of villainy, and I kind of knew the rest of the gang was initially going to be on his side.
Yeah,
but then Milo's heartfelt speech about how we should not allow these people to die. How can you people feel this way? You condemned these people to die. It's going to turn them around.
Exactly.
And they're going to come and hang out. And then somehow, after the bridge is blown up,
yes,
they're going to somehow find a way across so they can go and stop the hot air balloon, taking them all the way back to the surface of the planet of the world. Unconnected, but I've just realized a small logistical flaw in that plan.
Okay.
Wasn't there still like water? Oh, they were going up the volcano. Never mind.
Yes, they were going up the volcano.
Never mind, they're going up the volcano.
Yes.
Never mind.
All right. So mine is the very much stereotypical, here's your villain. You see the villain coming a mile away, and it's just like, couldn't you have done something a little differently? Like,
played with the trope a little.
Yeah. Yeah, change it up a little bit, but it is what it is. There again, it's a very much a big gripe about the film, but I enjoyed it. It was just more okay. Even seeing the guy on his just when you first see the character, even just in a picture, all you see is half his face.
It's and he's the villain.
He's the villain. Plain and simple.
He looks like the vice principal of a middle school.
He does.
So he obviously is the villain. I don't know why I make that connection other than teen movies of the 80s.
That's a good point.
That's probably,
very, very good
probably
point.
The closest I can get there.
Agreed. Or Principal Strickland from Back to the Future.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Either way, so that's my second dislike. What's your?
My third dislike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We know for certain at the beginning of this movie that the King and Kida survive.
Yes.
These are the same King and Kida that we see in 1914.
Yes.
So logically, one can ascertain that not only are these not just the descendants
Yes.
of the people lost, or of the people who were in the city of Atlantis as it sank, but these are also the same people who were saved by the shield when the city of Atlantis sank.
Mm-hmm.
Why then don't they know how to use the technology in 8,000 years later when if they're the same people and don't know their own written language 8,000 years later when they're the same people? Are you telling me that they quit writing stuff down? That they forgot how the crystals around their neck worked? I mean, this would work if this were like 20, 30 generations down the line. Okay, yeah. I understand how they don't know how their written language worked.
Yeah.
Or how these ancient machines worked. But they're acting, and that's how they act.
Mm-hmm.
When they literally, good portion of the people there are either the one generation down descendant or the generation that was there when the city sank. Some of the pilots of the ships that are there should be in the city and know how to pilot their own ships. Shouldn't they?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree, but at the same,
what happened? Does prolonged exposure to the Atlantean crystal make you stupid? I don't know. It's not explained. It's like, how do you forget? I know, I understand the concept of you use it or you lose it.
Yeah.
So I understand that perhaps they did not see a reason to fly when they didn't have to go that far for food or anything, since they were stuck in this cavern.
Right.
But at the same time, they're flying around the cavern in the ships they just remembered, at best, how to operate. Like, of course, we should have been doing this all along. What are you people? What's wrong with you people? How do you forget how to write? Or not just write, how to read your own language that you were reading before the city sank, and you were the same people who were there when the city sank, except for maybe your children who may have grown up to the point where they're Kita's age. What is wrong with you people?
I see.
Was the language only allowed to be read by the nobles, and the nobles all died off or didn't make it into the shield in time, except for Kita? But then Kita didn't know how to do it either, and the king apparently doesn't want to teach anybody how to read, despite the fact that when it sank, he would have still been young enough that he would have been able to,
yes,
teach his own daughter how to read the language. Maybe he's doing that because he's trying to keep Kita safe. So that's why he hid the stuff down, the crystal down in the center of the city anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not taught them so they won't put all these very obvious clues together in order to get down there. But at the same time, it's like, there has to be other reasons why you would know how to read, other than we got to know how to get to the mural work so we can get down to the energy crystal. There's got to be other reasons. Like, you've got to put, I don't know. Do you not have any books of literature or scrolls of literature or anything?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know how to read, sure. I can now understand why you may have not taught the ones you didn't teach how to work the ships may not know how to work the ships. At the same time, what are you telling them the crystals for in the first place? Where is the logic in this situation? So it's something that annoyed me the whole movie, because it's like, okay, yeah, they're an advanced civilization. They were advanced civilization before they fell. Yeah, there might be some regression just because, cultures change. But in order for culture to change, the people in the culture have to be different than the people who were there when it went under. what's going on here, people? How do you? Maybe even the. And here's the thing: if the culture has changed so much that they can't read their written language, then that should mean their spoken language has evolved in such a way, even though it's the same people. I'm just following the logic here.
Yeah.
That the words should be, hard to translate, but yet somehow they do know how to read, how to speak 50 different languages that they've never heard before because they've never been to the surface. Because
okay.
If Milo had to do a bunch of research to learn how to read, quote unquote, the mother tongue, how can they know the descendants of the tongue of the language?
Yeah, because at that point, if you
because there are very large differences. As a person who has fought the sub versus dub war in anime, there are major differences in how the Japanese language works and the English language works. And you're telling me they all came from the same spot, and this one culture can somehow speak both consistencies? Even heck, Old English is not even readable by modern English.
No,
speakers.
It's not.
And you're expecting me that this other language, just because it's the root tongue, they now can speak every modern language? There's a lot you're asking me to accept here. A lot you're asking me to accept here.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I can't. Make them the magic race, the magic civilization all you want. There's issues here.
Yeah.
That just don't work because even if they're the same people who were there when the city went under, so they shouldn't have forgotten half this stuff. B, even if they did forget half this stuff, there's no reason they should be able to understand the languages spoken later, the 30 or 40 different languages that everybody else spoke.
Yes.
Especially English. The language that is 30 different languages in a trench coat. Masquerading as a single language.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's
and plus be like...
I know it's a movie and I should, as Elsa would say, let it
go.
But these are the kind of things that mess with me. Logistics mess with me.
Yes.
When they don't make sense. And for the most part, logistics don't get this bad. But this is a major logistics nightmare as to how any of this works, because it shouldn't.
I completely agree. The fact that they put the mother language or Atlantean is the basis for everything else. When you look at language as itself, be like there are roots, but they're splintered.
Yeah,
they're splintered off from different things. So the fact to be like it's one root word, it's like no, that's not the way language works.
No, just because you understand the root word doesn't mean you understand what that word means. I mean, heck, just look at the modern English language. We have what is the word I'm thinking of? That we have words that like the word literally no longer just means this is literally what happened.
Yeah.
It now also means figuratively. And the only way you know the difference is context.
Yeah, that's it.
How would they know that? Because if that language is true, then that means 108 years after this, our time, if that culture's still around, they ought to know why we say literally when it's figurative and literally when it's literal.
Yeah. Woosa.
It's to quote Mr. Spock, it's not logical.
All right.
And on that note, what is your third dislike?
Speaking of Mr. Spock. So apparently Captain Spock got it wrong. So the king Kita? Yeah, Kita.
Kita's father.
Kita's father, the king.
They never actually say his
name. No, they never say his name. Be like, yes, I understand why he did all the things because his wife was absorbed into the heart, the crystal, the power source. And he is afraid that Kita is going to fall the same fate as her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So he does all these things in order to protect his precious daughter, but then he sets his own kingdom up for failure. Because when it seems like he is banished any the learning of the history or anything, because there's points where they just don't know what it's like, yeah, we knew this happened, but there's no it seems to me that it's not mentioned in the movie, but it's almost implied that the king forbid any understanding of the heart and understanding of language. That's why they lost their language, because the king are apparently, like you said earlier, maybe the nobles knew the language and the nobles were forbidden from speaking of it or something like that. That's what it's almost implying in a way,
but that still makes no sense.
Yeah, it still makes no sense. And okay, I understand, King, you're trying to protect your daughter from the same fate that your wife did, but you're destroying your own culture for that.
Yeah.
It's like I understand you want to keep your daughter safe, but at the same time, you have literally your mighty kingdom is a husk of what it was before.
Yes.
Just because you want to protect your daughter from learning the truth.
And you are literally living in ruins.
Yes, exactly. Just because
your daughter knows that, then you ought to be able to notice it.
And Kita seems to be a very intelligent young lady, and just no, but I can't lose her, which is I'm not a father, but the fact of losing a loved one that you 8,000 years ago, you lost your wife, and now you're so afraid that you're going to lose your daughter to the same fate that you're literally condemning the rest of your culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just what? It's Leonard Nimoy, yes, amazing, but
does a great job in this role.
He does an amazing job in this role. It's just the motivations it is a concerned parent that he's going to lose his daughter, and it just makes no sense. What? Really? Come on, King, step up. Your kingdom is crumbling around you, and you're too afraid to lose your daughter over 8,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You made major mistakes.
Yes.
Over 8,000 years ago, and that's what caused this trouble to begin with. Supposedly. And now he's too afraid. And now he's too afraid to make more mistakes. It's been 8,000 years. To quote my good friend Jacob, build yourself a bridge and get over it. That's not the long version that you would say.
It's a short.
But I'm getting to the point here.
Yes, you are.
Like Elsa says, let it go.
Let it roll.
Anyway.
Oh, yes. So it's the king, in his desire to protect his daughter, dooms his own kingdom again. Exactly, Alpha.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of the review, which means we need to rate this thing.
Yes.
Giving it a 7.5.
A 7.5. Okay.
Yes, it's a good movie. I highly suggest watching it. The logistics for me is what knocks it down to this. I can't give it an 8 because there's just so many logical leaps, and we get to spend so little time with the characters I want to spend time with that I've got to mark it down just a little bit. So yeah, I'm giving it 7.5.
Okay. I'm still gonna give it an 8. I enjoy this movie, even though logically it makes no sense in some cases. And I completely agree with your point that we needed more time with our characters. I do enjoy the campfire scene. The campfire scenes.
I wish we had more of that.
I wish we had more of that, but I understand we're trying to crunch down the story and make it more fluid. You lose a lot of character buildup in that. because you want to get to our main characters.
Yeah.
I get that.
I mean, you could easily split this into 2 movies or into like a 10-episode first season of a TV show, and it would probably work better.
Agreed.
Than cramming all this into 1 hour and a half movie.
Yeah. Well, there again, they were building this up to make a series out of it, and they just never got around to building any of the other characters, which is it's a great pitch, but it's executed just be like it's strikeout the very end of it, and we just don't get to like see these other characters and get to know them better.
Mm-hmm.
And they were banking on this being a mega hit before they can do a sequel and do a TV series, and apparently they banked on the wrong picture. Not saying the directors were bad, it was just
it's just they tried to do too much at once.
Exactly.
It's really what I feel the biggest issue with this is. But yeah. That brings us to the end of this episode.
Yes.
Which means that we need to tell y'all what the next one is.
Yes.
If I can get it up. Okay, so our next movie is one I have not seen.
Mm-hmm. Me either.
And it is The Fantastic Mr.
Fox.
I know it's stop motion,
mm-hmm.
or at least it's implied to be stop motion. I assume it is. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've not seen it, so I don't know what it's about. You'll find out what we think of it next week, and we give it a review.
Yeah.
Which makes me ask one very stupid question as we end this episode.
What would that be?
What does the fox say? Anyway. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you. Hang on. I'm not set up. Let me do that again.
Take 2.
In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame. Come, Jacob. We must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
Same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast.
Oh, boy.
So where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. Also on Facebook at Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where I try to draw each and every day. I don't get to it as often as I like, but join me there. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jacob B. Heron, on Twitter at Jacob Heron, and Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. So where can they find you, Drew?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759, Facebook as Drew Dodgen, my Facebook page where you can see pictures I've taken at Drew's Photo Bin. You can also follow me on Twitter at GGeorge759.
You can email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter at cast_cell.
You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/thecellcastgaming.
You can also follow us on YouTube at Cellcast.
Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Google Play Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
and your favorite podcast directory.
You can also listen to us on the Movie of the Week podcast with Jim Heron, where we talk about live action movies. And remember, Cell is a single L. Okay.
All right. Well, that was fun.
Yes. So I'm going to run off here and jump back up here and go over what we missed here in the chat.
Okay.
David Bobkey, also known as That's Our Bobo.
Okay.
He says, "Yay, Ernest! Also was Slinky Dog in Toy Story." And then after I made that said that same thing, he goes, "Yeah, buddy." And then Josh says, "Atlantis level for next Kingdom Hearts game needs to happen." You know what? I actually thought about that. I kind of wonder why it didn't make it into the first game or any of the other ones that came out right after this. This would have been a good Dream Drop Distance game too, level also.
Well, it wasn't successful in the theater, and Disney doesn't like promoting things that didn't weren't successful.
Yeah, explain that. Explain that to a couple of movies that have gotten levels in Kingdom Hearts.
And
but anyway,
well, there again, I don't know what all the levels are there. Is there a Black Cauldron level?
No, there's not a Black Cauldron level, but there is. Of course, we had the Tarzan level.
Yeah,
and then we've got. We do have a Hunchback of Notre Dame level, which at the time I don't think did terribly well. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Nah. Notre Dame did do very well in theaters.
Maybe.
Yeah. Far as I understand, I haven't watched the movie.
There's a lot of odd choices when you get to some of the later
I agree.
games before they jumped into before they got into Kingdom Hearts 3 and just did the last 6 movies.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Right.
Then Josh says, do y'all believe Atlantis could have existed? Maybe the reason it is sunken is due to the Great Flood. I think that's what they imply at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, they do.
It's the flood that sank Atlantis.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it didn't exist at some time. But I don't know if the ruins exist today, if it's real. I would like to think that if Atlantis was real, we might have found something that connected to it outside of Plato's writings and I think a couple other writers.
Mm-hmm.
I say that knowing that we've never physically found the Ark.
No.
Or the Ark of the Covenant, for that matter.
Yeah.
In recent times. So I don't know specifically.
From an historical standpoint, some historians point out it could be the culture of Minoans, where we get the idea of the labyrinth, the idea of the Minotaur.
Yeah,
and we get that from that culture. There's some that say that's the possibility that Minoans were the Atlanteans, or there was a volcano that exploded, tens of thousands of years ago on the island of Crete. And there is a possibility that could have been the site of Atlantis, but we just don't know from a historical standpoint. Some have said, be like, oh, it was in America. Of course it was in America.
Yeah, that makes lots of
sense.
That
makes a lot of sense.
The thing is, if Atlantis does exist, the most likely location, at least as far as I think, is it's got to be somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Greece.
Yes.
That's the most likely place for it to be because it only comes up in Greek mythology.
Yeah, Greek writings. That's it.
Greek writings. So and it's not like they would have gone very far past the Strait of Gibraltar. The Greeks, I mean. I'm not saying they didn't, but it's not like the Romans, where they literally conquered pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty much the entire
Mediterranean Sea plus all of Europe.
Yeah.
So
not all of Europe.
Not all of Europe.
Not all of Europe.
But a good portion of it. I mean, they went all halfway up the British Isle.
Yeah.
So I mean, a good portion of it before everything started falling apart.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Then Josh says, Chekhov's giant robot. Exactly. If y'all don't know what Chekhov's gun is, I think we did bring that up a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, we did.
So, yeah.
Go check out those episodes.
And then Geek Devotions rated us with Leslie giving us all these little Raid and Geek Life not emoticons. What are they called?
Emojis?
Emojis. Thank you. And Josh yells, Raid! And they tried to give Geek Devotions the shout out with the bot commands, but I don't have that set up because there's no bot. And yeah, Leslie agrees, there's no bot. Josh says, surely there can't be much dislike, I say through nostalgia goggles. Well, then he says, Whitmire's role was redacted. So the answer to whether or not you can trust him is a resounding redacted. And he says, next you'll say there was a 9th season of Scrubs.
I've never watched Scrubs, so I have no idea.
My understanding is pretty much the original story of that sitcom ended with the 8th season.
Mm-hmm.
When they tried to keep the show going with a new cast, it flopped and failed miserably. That's my understanding.
Gotcha.
Josh says maybe the king of Atlantis is named King Kakops. Spock backwards.
Ha ha.
Then Josh says he's never seen it either, referring to Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And then for some reason, Josh screamed out as if he were Darth Vader, just learning that his wife was dead. No! I don't know why he did that, but it's fun to do that anyway. I'm going to look for someone for our Twitch audience to go raid themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to touch on while I'm doing that?
Yeah. Hey, guys, thank you so much. What I would love for you guys to do, if you're the kind that would pray for other people, definitely pray for those in Afghanistan as United States and their forces have moved out and they're being blitzed by the Taliban. So please pray for those people. They are in desperate need of help, and just definitely that the Lord intervenes. And definitely those over in Haiti, because Haiti has been hit. And so yeah, just definitely pray for those countries, and definitely that God moves in those areas. Just definitely that we just lift those countries up, because I find that a lot of people they're only concerned about America, and definitely pray for the rest of the world, because they also need Jesus.
Yeah,
and also America needs Jesus. So yeah, definitely pray for those people. I would deeply appreciate if you guys would. And so yeah, thank you guys so much. As you heard in our outro, yeah, if you want to find us,
you know where to look. All right, so we're going to raid Book of Gaming, just because they're on, and I know it's good, clean fun. So we're going to do that.
Excellent.
So I've got that going. Turn him up so we can hear him.
Beautiful little doggy.
And
he's tired. He's like,
we're ready.
I'm all fun down. I'm laying down on the floor.
He's got a dog.
There goes.
And raid.
And stop that. And
Hello. Still Cast Gaming. Still Cast Gaming. Still Cast Gaming.